Hi, Emily.
It really does feel like we're reunited, like we have not seen each other or spoken for, it feels like a lifetime to me.
I feel like I haven't seen or spoken to you in months, which is kind of true because you've been busy filming a very exciting new project. So how is it going?
But you too, you were shooting.
Yes, I can say it. I was directing the Honey Boo Boo biopic, which was a thrill.
Oh yeah, see, you can say it now.
Yeah. So I can say it. You can't say yours yet. But how's the past little while been for you?
So I have had the most, maybe I think life-changing past 3 weeks.
Wow.
So, I'm in London and I came out here and we've talked about this, that I've had these like low iron things. And when I get really low iron, I get really tired. And I was out here and I was like, oh, I think I'm getting really low iron. I need an iron infusion. So I called production and I'm like, I need an iron infusion. And, productions are like, they just get you the best doctor and do the thing. And this doctor was like, wanted to call me and talk to me. I was kind of at first annoyed because I just knew I needed an iron infusion. Yeah. And he calls me and he asks me all these questions. And then he's like, I think we should do like a full blood panel. And then I'm on set at lunch and I get a call from this doctor who's, by the way, I want to put out there, amazing. And he's like, I'm going to send you over the results, but I want to talk you through them.
Yeah.
And so he sends me over the results and looking through them, my iron's great. And then it gets to this CA919 marker, which is a marker for pancreatic cancer mostly.
No.
And I've known 2 people who've died of pancreatic cancer. And
so
it's just one of those ones like...
It's very tragic. Like, I need to know the end of this story, Emily. This is scary.
Okay, so I maybe should put this way. The story ends well.
Okay.
But so also I'm in London and I was very close with Alan Rickman, who died of pancreatic cancer. And before any of this happened, I called his widow, who I know well, and I'm like, I'm in London, let's get together. And she's now the head of the pancreatic cancer board and everything. So it was just weird that this comes. And he's like, don't want you to worry. We're just going to take some more blood. So I do that. And those are high. And so then he's like, you need an emergency MRI.
No.
And I'm shooting, right? And so the thing is like, obviously I'm thinking of my life and stuff, but the first thing is like, oh my God, production's going to write me out. I'm going to what am I going to do? I know that's...
No. But that is common. Yeah.
That's totally
I get it.
But then also I started thinking of real like stuff I never thought would be what I think of when I would be faced with like potentially dying in like 5 years.
Or if you're lucky.
If this was, exactly. Because I knew if this was it, that I was catching it early, which most people don't. And so I'm waiting for this MRI thing to be scheduled, and I'm thinking of like getting my affairs in order, Katie.
Of course.
And production had to know, and they were being amazing. And the more people were like really, there was only a few people who knew, but everybody was really doing so much for me that it felt even scarier. But so many things struck me as really interesting because I don't really want to tell anybody because I know that people are different with you. And I also was thinking that if I was ever faced with, like, you only have this many years, I would think, oh, I just want to work. But that wasn't what I wanted to do.
I would have predicted that for you. No.
Me too. And I was like, I just don't want to do anything. Like, I don't have a bucket list.
Wow.
I don't want to do I just want to kind of maybe take a nap, watch TV, stuff that I never let myself do. Yeah. And it was just so many thoughts. Anyways, I go get this 2-hour MRI where they have to like put this stuff in you and you have to do this breathing. And I fell asleep during it. And the lady's yelling at me like, follow the breathing. You must follow the breathing.
Oh, no.
Anyways, get out of the MRI. And then I'm waiting for like 48 hours for these results. And then my doctor sends me a text and is like, good news. And then when I speak to him, he's like, so we found nothing, which is weird because that marker doesn't get elevated unless there's some like inflammation of the pancreas or blockage or whatever. And so he's like, so you might just have a weird mutation.
You're listening to The Whisper Network. I'm Katie Boland.
And I'm Emily Hampshire.
And a few weeks ago, we just interviewed each other, which was actually surprisingly fun, I thought.
Yeah, sometimes I like it when it's just us, like hanging out, chatting, because we don't hang out unless we're working together. And so it's actually nice to just hang out.
I know. Like, we actually never spend time together as friends, just as kind of interesting business partners where I force you to do something you don't want to do. But
Yep.
So this is going to be fun. And today we wanted to mix it up a little bit and hear from you, our listeners. So we put out a call on social media and we've picked some of our favorite questions to answer today. So this is like an Ask Me Anything.
But before we get to those, Katie, you need to tell me what happened in the past few weeks in your life.
So the past 6 weeks for me have definitely felt kind of crazy because I feel like when you're directing these kind of smaller budget movies, you're always given a lot of insurmountable challenges. Like the movie is about Honey Boo Boo and it's set in the South and it's shot in rural England. So that in and of itself was like a bit of a mountain. And I would say I've been feeling like I've been really neglecting the podcast lately because there's been so much other stuff going on. And that made me feel sort of sad and a bit scattered because I love talking to you so much, Emily, but I also do care about this project so much. And like how you said, you never let yourself watch TV or whatever. I always feel like I'm letting somebody down professionally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think this segues into a good question from a listener. So James wants to know, what do you do when life becomes overwhelming? Thank you, James.
Thank you, James. That's really interesting because it is a good question for both of us.
Yeah.
I have this weighted blanket.
Oh, love.
No, but this is different because it's a crocheted weighted blanket. It's from this company called Hush that has these big holes in it, but it's weighted so it's not too much. Anyways, I cocoon under that and I set my alarm on my phone. I'm like, I'm just going to nap for 20 minutes. And then I set that and then the alarm goes off and I'm like, just 20 minutes more. And so basically I spend about 2 hours escaping the world, cocooning under that. What do you do when you're overwhelmed? I feel like I'm always overwhelmed.
Yeah, I would say I'm in a state of extreme overwhelm right now. And I don't think, there's definitely times when I just watch trash reality TV and that helps. But I don't know how well I actually do handle it. I think there's some tension between I set my life up to be quite busy and overwhelming. And then I just end up kind of giving myself the short end of the stick at the end of the day. So I don't think that I haven't really figured out a way to handle it other than I think I try to be so stimulated just to not feel bored, but I don't think I handle the overwhelm very well.
Wait, you said something that hit me. That you give yourself the short end of the stick. That is the thing of why I always say the greatest gift you can give me is canceling.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because I would never give myself that time.
No, I was hoping you would cancel today.
Time,
yeah.
Yep. But then the truth is, always I get something out of it at the end. We meet some great guest or we learn some amazing thing. So then that'll just keep me going just until the next one. But just.
Literally just. So, okay, speaking of a really great guest that we had, Jamil talked a lot about the aging as a woman, and another great guest, Dr. Jen Gunter, talked about her takes on sort of influencer culture. And I was wondering, how do you feel about aging as a woman, all the anti-aging stuff, influencer culture, telling us ways that we could look younger and better and be healthier? Do you feel differently about those things now, or did anything from those conversations resonate with you?
So much of what Jamil said hit me so hard that is the world I would like to live in, the one where you can not fall into the trap of feeling like you need to keep up with that. But at the same time, my Instagram, I'll just see constant things of ways to fix yourself, to fix the aging thing. And I don't really fall into influencer culture. Influencer culture doesn't get me because that's not really my thing. I really gravitate towards something that's real or seemingly real.
Yes.
So some medical thing, but I'm sure now I know that it's probably some influencer medical person, but I will fall for all that. But how do you feel, Katie, about influencer culture and anti-aging stuff? And
it's complex because I am aging, right? And you also see a lot of people around you who are actors or are just normal people, and everyone's like, their faces look a little different. And a part of me is like, am I going to do that too? Like, am I going to succumb to that? And then if I do, what am I perpetuating? Or why am I even really doing that? Because I'm not on camera anymore.
And I don't want to be judgy of people who do that.
No,
because,
it's like I get it, because I think you are in a kind of a can't win culture. But there is something that I also really like about getting older, and that I feel like I'm a little bit less like thrown in the wind by stuff. Like, I'm not just like sort of blowing around. I feel like it's fun to watch your career flourish as you get older. Like, you're like, oh, I've put like a lot of time into this, and now things are happening that I think are exciting and interesting. Yeah. But yeah, I think influencer culture, I feel like I'm a little old for it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm
my God, that's so funny and so true. That is exactly when I was like, it's just not my thing.
It's not like, for me. Yeah. It's for,
But I am so inspired by people like, Jen Gunter and Jenna Lyons, who we're going to have on, is somebody who I always look up to. She's not that much older than me, but she's somebody who makes me want to age in a way that is like, you just become better, which is never really shown to us.
But I do feel like,
I'd like to get to that point.
And I also, no. I do feel like that's the reality for most people, most women, is that as you get older, you're like, oh, it's better, I'm happier. Or I've let go of, But yeah,
I would never go back for.
No, I wouldn't go back.
There's actually nothing that I want now that I had when I was younger. Like, not even skin elasticity. I feel like I look better now than I did back then, because I was so. Thanks.
You do, yeah.
but just in the sense that I know what I was doing to myself then was so not
like painful.
Yeah,
like sad and painful.
Yeah, sad, painful, hiding, and also just like trying to hide everything and cover that up with like too much makeup and too much stuff. And so I think I actually looked older when I was younger. But
yeah, I mean, you and I have had that conversation where you're like, you look better without any makeup.
Yeah, when I saw you that day without makeup, and I'm like, Katie.
You're like, this is your new look. But I've heard that from
this is your new look.
I've heard that from a lot of people, or a few people in my life. And it's just like, but I don't feel like right now I'm not really wearing any, and I don't feel very comfortable.
See, I think you look so beautiful like that. And not that you don't look beautiful with makeup, but it is something that, like, when I look back at pictures where I wouldn't leave the house without like eyelashes.
A face. Yeah.
Yeah. And because I was trying to hide my body, I was like, look up here. But yeah, I find that, I just like think you look so fucking good.
That's
like,
nice.
Just
Thanks,
like
Sam. Yeah. It's something I'm like trying to get used to, because I do feel like, why am I trying to have a different face?
Yeah. And you can get kind of addicted to, like, when you have eyelashes
the whole
and then you
thing.
take them off, you feel like you're naked.
Yes, for sure.
But it's just a tolerance you build for your face. You're listening to The Whisper Network. We'll be back after the break.
Okay, so this is a bit silly, but it's very fun. Does Emily do weddings, like, as a bride?
Is this like a proposal?
Well, then the person writes JK, JK, JK. But I am now curious, Emily, how do you feel about weddings?
Well, I mean, I had one. I had a wedding, and what is really interesting was that I'd never been to a wedding when, like, I got married really pretty young,
How old were you?
And I think I was 23.
Stop.
Yeah.
I didn't.
When I look back now, I thought I was old at 16. Like,
I didn't realize that you were that young.
Yeah, no, we were really, if I look back now, we were really young.
Yeah.
But really, it turned into a production.
Yeah.
Like, I started obsessing about I made everything. And then we walked out to this song called Grounds for Divorce. There was karaoke. My invites were ransom notes that I'd collaged each one together, like bananas.
So why do you think you took it that far?
Because it was a production.
Yeah.
It was putting on a show. But wait. I have this weird, faint memory that you were married once for like a minute. I might have made this up, but is there any truth to that?
That is true. And I feel like my fun fact, if I'm ever like at a party and people are like, oh, what's something I don't know about you? Or even my very close friends now who've come into my life later in my life, I'm like, yeah, I was a young divorcee. It was chic. I was divorced by the time I was 21.
Oh my God, that young.
I got married at 21 and divorced at 21. So
that's amazing.
The thing is, to me, weddings, my father's been married 4 times. My mother has never been married. So for me, I always had a pretty complicated relationship with marriage. And I never, my first Halloween costume was as a bride. But since that time, it's so crazy. Since that time in my life, I never really thought, it didn't really matter to me if I got married or not. I knew I wanted long-term partnership, and I think, Emily, you touched on this in your story, but we have a lot of days in our life where we get dressed up. You treated your wedding like a production. For me, that would be my nightmare. I don't want all that pressure to talk to everybody in a single day. I don't want it to have to be perfect. Like, we deal with that so much at work that it doesn't appeal to me in my personal life.
I didn't want to have my hair and makeup done. I didn't want to have that. I wanted to do my own.
Yeah.
Like, that was my nightmare. But wait, how did you do your wedding?
At a courthouse. He was from Ireland and we wanted to live in the same country. So it was the only way that made sense. And we both looked at it as something that was kind of a joke and like kind of fun and in the spirit of like, haha, why not? Again, I was like, I don't care about weddings. I think getting married to live in the same country is really the only reason to do it. Now, as I've gotten older, I think that's changed a little bit. Like, I think if it's really important to your partner, I think if you want to make that kind of eternal commitment, the thought of planning a big wedding is a true nightmare to me.
But what's funny is that when you said the thing about weddings that you don't care, like if somebody wants it they care about it or something, I think of the thing of doing it for all the legal reasons and stuff like that. And then that becomes a nightmare, like getting out of that whole thing.
I have some friends who are going through divorces now and it's rough. And then it's the whole conversation of like, do you have a prenup? Like that feels awkward to bring up.
Yeah.
Do prenups even really count or can you kind of wiggle your way out of them?
So how did you get out of your...
We just were like, wait, we don't actually want to be together. We believe really different things, like LOL. I think I wrote a prenup up myself that then a lawyer I knew like sealed, like gave it a legal seal.
I 100% believe you wrote a prenup up yourself. That completely tracks.
Yeah. And then we never really spoke again, but like, I hope he's well and I hope that...
Did he propose?
No, it was nothing.
So whose idea was it?
It was literally, we sat down and we were like, okay, do we want to live in the same country? Yes, it would be good to give it a shot. Otherwise, why are we in this relationship? I didn't wear a ring. So I'm like, I legally got married.
That's what I remember. Yeah. That's totally what I remember, you being like, I'm a divorcee. And so I invented the wedding.
Okay, so this next question I found very interesting, and it's specifically for Emily. And the person who asked said that they will take no as a complete answer. They start by saying, I don't want to seem like a nosy bitch.
I like them already.
I know. I don't want to seem like a nosy bitch. I was wondering if Emily could speak on how being with an older man at a young age affected her career and choices.
So I know what this has done to me. This is like when somebody says that to me, like, you can say no and I will respect that or something, it makes me want to answer because they were respectful. Like, had they not said that, I probably would have been like, next.
For sure. But because they said that, you're like, I'll entertain.
Yeah. I'm going to speak honestly about this, and I feel like I am scared that I'll be like in trouble because this is probably not the way to talk about this. But it is so interesting for me to look back now at a relationship that would not be okay now in any way. And we were very public about our relationship at the time. We were in like the newspaper as couple of the TIFF Film Festival. And I mean,
the movie that I first saw you in was his movie.
Yes, and that's how I met him.
Yeah.
And I was to be fair, I was in love with him, like, the director of this movie, and he knew all these artsy things, whatever. And I pursued it. Now, looking back, I've or even looking at anything now, I see somebody my age then. When you're in that position of power, it's just like you got to be the one to be like, no. However, it was a great relationship. We were together for 10 years. And I did, and this is where I feel like I'm going to get like, I don't know, punished, but I felt like I got an education.
Yeah.
I learned everything. So he was a director, and I learned everything that still to this day serves me now in a way that I would never have learned as an actor in any other way, because it was kind of, I was let in on the other side of things. I got to see the director's side of things. And I was also, because we worked together and we would do movies together, and I got to start my career in a way that I had no idea other actors didn't get to like decide what they wanted to wear and decide what their character would do and like be like, oh, I want to do this. Can we put this scene in and all this stuff? And so when I went on to other projects, I remember like things like wardrobe. I think there were certain times where if I look back now, I'd be like, oh my God, must have been such a nightmare, because I would draw up my costume and be like, this is how she, like a nightmare.
That is how like some people work. And like I relate to that too, just in terms of my mother, because I think she was always a director. And so there was like a large mentorship component to our relationship. But I also think it's why as I got older, I like thought I could be one even.
Yeah. It never gave me that, because it was always the man would be that. I never saw a woman director. Your mom was the only woman director I'd ever known of, and I didn't work with her until
like later.
Women directors were more normal.
No, I know.
Yeah. But it definitely made me have a seat at the table in a movie or a show that I would never have had as an actress. Yeah. There's nothing that actually makes me feel better than someone wanting to work with me again, because I feel like that is how I want to leave any relationship, is like, you want to have this experience again. Which is why when I was also like, we both started really young.
Yeah.
You know, I was with this like kids agent who really drilled into me like professionalism is everything. And so I was never, you know what was killing me with this pancreatic cancer scare thing was I've never been late for work in my life, and they were trying to take my blood in my trailer and they couldn't get a vein, and then he put it in my wrist and I passed out, and so I didn't show up for blocking. I have never felt so, because no one on set knew. I just showed up and didn't attend the blocking, so I'm like, everybody thinks I am somebody who wouldn't come to, like, that makes me crazy. You're listening to the Whisper Network. We'll be back after the break.
Okay, so the next question, this is from our executive producer, Laura. So hi, Laura. Thanks for asking this. What would you do if you weren't an actor?
Oh, gosh. So there were so many things I've wanted to do, and having done all these things, like getting into writing and other stuff and like producing things, I realized how great it is being an actor. Like, I used to have this real actor shame, like it's just so pathetic. It's not like doing anything. And now I'm like, God, we've got it good as actors, because everything else is so much harder and you get treated so much worse. But no, I think what I really do, though, if I could do anything, I'd just want to be like independently wealthy and just not care about money. And so I would write poetry. I would make a lot of things with my glue gun. I would craft arts and craft things. I'd make clothes. I'd make furniture.
Right. You would still be creative, but just like with no pressure.
Yeah. And why I would have to be independently wealthy is because everything I would want to make, like, no one wants to buy. Like, no one wants
maybe
a book of poetry by me.
Like a cool Etsy.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like that could do well.
But that's what I would love to do, is just do, anytime I get an idea, I want to make this thing, and I would make it. Okay, what would you be?
So I actually think about this question a lot because I got into like a career so young, and I wasn't forced to at all, but I do wonder what I would have picked just as an adult person or a young adult. And it's kind of a scary thought because I have no education. What I do is kind of all I can do. So I don't know. I feel like I could have learned other things and done other things, but now that door is closed.
I've thought about that a lot too, though. The good thing about being an actor, though, is you're always taught some skill by some expert. And like, I know how to do this magic trick because I had to do a magic trick in a show. I know how to like ride a horse side saddle for like 5 minutes. All these things. The only skill I learned that could serve me but now is useless is I got 3 days of cashier training at a Target to learn how to do that scanning thing. But now everybody can do it.
Oh, damn. That sucks. Yes.
It was fun though. I loved,
you loved it.
I like repetitive motions and like
soothing.
Beep, 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 beep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to end on a question from someone who is invested in the real long-term narrative of this podcast. So, Emily, this is a question for you specifically, but how do you feel about saying the word vagina now, this many episodes in?
You know what's funny? So I feel fine now about saying the word vagina. What I have an issue with is saying the word vulva, which I've learned that everything that I want to say that I would mean vagina for is actually vulva. And I can't say vulva now because that's so weird.
Yeah.
So I've learned that I didn't even know what I was talking about when I couldn't say vagina.
It's funny because I feel
that's our show.
That's our show for today. No, I feel less comfortable saying it.
What were you going to say?
I feel less comfortable saying it now. I don't know why. We're so out there talking about this stuff now, you know? So now I feel like a bit like embarrassed, like, oh no, what did I do?
Oh God, I'm embarrassed of way more than saying vagina from this show. I'm embarrassed of everything. Like this whole conversation we just had. There's this real struggle within me and I think within you too.
For sure.
Of like wanting to be completely authentic. And to do that, you just have to be honest about your personal life in a way that I don't want to share my personal life with anyone, even people I know and am friends with. I don't want to talk to anybody about, I would have died and nobody would have known why until
anyways. Okay, so that's our show for today.
That is our show for today.
And now, as always, we want to hear from you. So what are you talking to your friends about in a whisper? What do you want us to talk to each other about in a whisper next? Follow us on Instagram at the Whisper Network Podcast. Send us an email or please leave us a voice note. We really like those. And you can do either of those things, an email or a voice note, on our website, thewhispernetworkpodcast.com.
And if you like what you have been hearing, please share it with people in your Whisper Network. And don't forget to rate and review us on your favorite podcasting app. But only if you like us, because if you don't, just don't rate us.
Don't do it.
Yeah, shh. Yeah, don't even whisper about it.
Yeah.
I am Emily Hampshire.
And I'm Katie Boland. And see you guys next time. The Whisper Network is produced by Antica Productions. Our senior producer is Allison Roverman. Samantha McLean is our development producer. Laura Reguer is our executive producer. And Sydney Fior is our production manager. This episode was sound designed by Philip Wilson with theme music by Michael Boland and Nathaniel Smith. This podcast is hosted on Acast.